Hi everyone, welcome to the Envelopes Emmy Contender Series. I'm Yvonne Villarreal. And as we lead up to the Emmy nominations, we'll be chatting with some of this season's most valuable players. Today we're talking to Minnie Driver, who plays matriarch Maya DeMayo, on ABC's Speechless. She plays a mother of 3, including a son with cerebral palsy. And we'll be taking your questions as well, so shoot them over in the comments section or tweet them using the hashtag AskLATimes. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Clearly I'm not good at reading text on this.
No. Don't worry. Maya. Mayonnaise to Maya. Yeah.
What do you think Maya would think of our set?
Oh, she'd think it was super fancy.
Yeah.
Super fancy. Got down to IKEA, picked out a couple of things.
I wish.
I know. I know, actually. Now that I'm examining it because you asked me to. Oh, that plant.
What do you think she would think? Yeah.
Here's the thing. The thing about Maya DeMayo is that she doesn't really give a crap. It's like, just, if I got to sit down, let it be soft. It doesn't matter what it looks like. I've got far too much else to worry about.
To think about, yeah.
And you think she never stops. If she stopped, she'd see what a disgusting house they live in, what revolting circumstances, the tarp on the roof, the horrible...
The landscaping.
All of it. But she doesn't stop, and it doesn't matter, and it's really the idea of distilling down what family is, which is, it's about us. It's about how we love each other and how we give each other. I mean, she gives her kids so much crap. I mean, she's destroying that child, Ray. She's ruining him. I mean, he'll be carrying her head around on a bus in a bag.
Lots of therapy sessions, I feel.
In 10 years.
Yeah, yeah. And it must make it easy, like you could leave stuff anywhere, right?
The thing is, you never know if there's trash on the set. You never really know. You'll go, did I leave that empty bags, you know, there, or is that part of the
dressing? Yeah. Wow. Well, tell me how this sort of role came to you. I mean, a lot of actresses didn't want to play this role because they viewed her as too unlikable.
Yeah.
Talk about how Maya was presented to you and what you found appealing.
Well, here's the thing, that I have a very close relationship with the chap who represents me, and he, you know, he's pretty candid. He knew I had I'm a lazy cow when it comes down to it, and I don't want to go to work unless it's something really good. So he rang me up and I was like, oh, what do you want? What have you got?
That's how I am with my editor.
It's so awful. I'm like, I love you so much, but I can't imagine at this late stage in pilot season that there's anything left that isn't utter sort of rubbish detritus. So what have you got? And he's like, well, there's this sort of problem child character. And I was like, oh, so you think I'd be perfect for it? And he was like, frankly, yeah, she's a cow. He thought it was, and he was right. It was a brilliant script. It was conceived out of such truth because Scott Silveri grew up in a family with a family member with cerebral palsy. It came straight from Scott Silveri's heart. And so there was this character who is full of life and full of hurricane. And I've said it a lot on social media. I have a really hard time when women are described as difficult because it's often just a dreadful patriarchal cover for someone who is strong and knows what they want and is vocal about getting it. A man would be described as strong and forthright and
a warrior,
and that's a load of old bollocks, really. So I viewed it as this really, it is tricky, like she's not that nice. But then when we talked about making her British, which is so hilarious, the idea that making somebody British takes the edge off, that you can say terrible things. But if you say it with a big smile and a British accent, it's suddenly like, oh my God,
nice, yeah.
Mary Poppins is giving me the finger. How lovely. Oh, what a great day.
At what point was that decision made? Because had you tried it with American?
I wanted to be American after About a Boy. I was like, I can't play another English mother, surely. Please let me be American. I worked really hard on the accent in like a week. And then they were so great. They said, well, let's do a read-through with a full room, and a read-through with an American accent, and then we'll do it with an English accent. And then everybody really sat down and went, your American accent sucked. No, they didn't say that. They didn't. They were like, it's great. It could go both ways, but I honestly think there was something about the alien quality of Maya, of this storm of a woman. There was something great about her being British. She's so other, and they're all so other. Jimmy is not a typical sitcom husband.
Right.
He's not the kind of eye-rolling spouse. He's funny and strange and insular and the absolute rock. And those children, they're odd too. They're odd in the way that they're so committed to their family and to this strange worldview that they have because they live in a different kind of world.
Did it help you to not having to concentrate on the American accent? Did it make you feel looser with the comedy? Like, did you...
You establish a rhythm with a character much quicker, because if an accent is music, which it is, and accents are, I mean, I've done lots of accents, I love accents, and there's a musicality in it. But when it's a movie, it's very different because it stays written the way that it is. With something that is constantly evolving, like a television show, the writers can feel your rhythm and they can start writing to that. And they hear that the more absurdist jokes are really funny on the British, and they start understanding like the language and the use of words and how that works. And that I've loved. So I understood that the evolution with my British rhythm was probably going to work, and I think they all knew that.
And what were your conversations like with Scott? And you know,
he's just, I mean, that man, and Christine Gernon, who is our executive producer, and she directed loads of our episodes too. She did Gavin and Stacey, which is probably one of my favorite British comedies of the last 20 years. They understood that there's great humour in the awfulness and the realness of human beings, and particularly Maya. And Scott was, maybe because of his own experiences, but maybe also just how he envisioned this woman, there is nothing she won't say or do. And there's something, she says what most people think, and particularly around disability. The notion of how she's seen how anyone who uses a wheelchair, who tells you about their experience of how people won't look at them or will speak loudly because they're this immediate assumption that they can't hear, or treat them in a particular way. The fact that Maya confronts all of that, it's still one of my favourite bits when JJ like gives these kids who are staring at him the finger, but it's like this because his hand doesn't work.
Right. Yeah.
And she supports that, and she supports his anger with her own anger, and she's very articulate. So she's really scary. She's really a scary mess, but I do love her. I do.
Well, did you meet with a lot of parents with children with special needs, and what were those conversations? What did you glean from those? What did you take with you?
But these men and women, primarily, I've met a lot of special needs families, but I met a lot of women, a lot of mothers who they are so funny and great, and you'd think, given what I know they go through in terms of the insurance that they're fighting for, the coverage, just the humanity they're fighting for their children just to be treated in the same way as all the other kids are treated, and how difficult that is because you cannot sanction the way somebody behaves, a teacher, a person in the street. The humour that these mothers have, and the largesse of heart and humanity. They're some of the most amazing women I've met because they don't complain. When you've got real stuff to complain about, it seems you don't complain about the stuff that the rest of us are complaining about all the time. Oh God, I've got to go to work. So boring. Oh, it's so many hours. Oh, I'm so tired. There's only 10 episodes of Big Little Lies. That really ticked me off. You know what I mean? Like that stuff. They're not bothered.
Yeah.
They're beyond that. They've been faced with somebody handing them their baby going, this baby will maybe never walk, will maybe never speak, will maybe never be able to live alone and have what we consider to be a normal life. Here you go. And when I think you've stared down that awfulness and you come out the other side, stuff just doesn't stick to you in the same way. And bright and great and interesting and engaged in life, but you feel how tired they are. Exhausted.
I would imagine, yeah, it's exhausting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And did Scott talk about, like, this is not a pity party. This is more than that. Like, we're not here to, you know, we're trying to show that this is just a normal family. Yeah.
I mean, it's, you know, people say that, well, it's this first and this second. It is a comedy, and there is, one of the elements of this family is disability. Like, but it is a really funny show, and it is a real show about a family. And now it's a show about disability as well. But it's, you know, it's more than that, which it should be. People with disabilities are way more than their disability. And this show showcases that. It shows how JJ is just a normal stroppy teenager. He's really annoying. He cheats sometimes. He gets away with stuff. He's lazy. He likes girls. You know, it's important for us to take these things we don't know much about or are scared of, and to put them squarely into a story that we can metabolize, and that's what Scott does. But for me, it's because it is so funny, and it is so irreverent, and it walks the line between, well, can we really say that, or can we do that? And it's like, yeah, you can say that because JJ says it, for example, or I don't know. He's brilliant, but we have a lot of input from the special needs community. We have advisors, and lots of our writers have family members with special needs. They have direct experience. Like, it's integrated.
What's the feedback you've been getting?
I mean, there's a lot of love. There's a lot of love. I mean, more women than I could count have said, I'm Maya, I am that. Or their children saying, that's my mum. And I think some of the storylines, there was a storyline that in last week's episode where JJ overhears a conversation that I think must be about the most difficult conversation that a person with a disability could overhear, which is their family discussing what will happen after the parents die, and are the other siblings meant to who will take care of that person, and the feeling of powerlessness, the feeling of your life is not your own, and yet how do you make it your own when you can't even button your shirt? That kind of story, that the feedback from that episode particularly was so immense, of people who said they cried, and people who said they felt so good that they could laugh and cry, that it was such a release. To hear these storylines, you know, even the parking of a van with you know.
She didn't ding it. Yeah,
she didn't ding it.
She didn't ding it. I like that there was video proof too.
I like that there was too. Believe me, that wasn't always how it was.
Oh, really?
In an initial draft, she did ding it, and she was just lying, and I was like, yeah, can she just not be a villain like once? Can they not be right about her?
Yeah.
Even though they're right 90% of the time, could they just be wrong this time?
Well, how about capturing that tone? Because the series can be unapologetically silly, and it can be unapologetically sincere. And how is that for you to navigate those waters?
Well, I got to say, it's terrifically challenging, but that's what I like about it. It's not easy. You are moving from being a clown into a deeply sincere. You're making a turn that is very, very quick, and sometimes that is hard. But it's funny because everybody is on the same. Everyone's on the same page. Like, it's not like you're being asked to do something, but they're not writing to support that, or they're not directing to support that. That's what's so amazing about this show, is that it's laser-like. When it's absurd, and we all understand the kind of Jacques Tati of that, and then it suddenly goes into a really. What was the moment? What was the movie with Deborah Winger and Shirley MacLaine? You know, when she's her mother, Jack Nicholson. What was that?
Terms of Endearment.
That's the one. You know, they'll want a proper moment like that, and you're like, really?
How do I get there?
I'm really going from into, and yet you see how they've written it, and you go, okay, well, it's my job just to. You've got to switch gears really quickly. And that can be hard as an actor, but it's also your job. So I like flexing those muscles because it's hard.
Was there a scene or episode that illustrates that challenge for you, or that was hard for you?
Yeah, it hasn't come out yet.
Okay.
There's this brilliantly meta storyline where Maya helps JJ run away from her because after he hears that that we're talking about him, he's so enraged. All he wants to do is get away from this woman, and she's so furious that he can't get to experience what if he were any other 18-year-old, he would just run away from home.
Yeah.
So she helps him run away. But then there they are dealing with this together, and she can't leave him, and she doesn't know how to leave him, and he wants her to leave him. And there was a scene in a casino, which is obviously where I say that he's the boss and we'll go wherever. There's a scene in the casino where it goes from being really funny to being really sad and really truthful very quickly, and it turns about 3 or 4 times within the space. And it was big scenes for Micah, and it was big scenes for me. But it was, I mean, I haven't seen it. I don't know. I don't know how it's come out, but it's really challenging, but ultimately very rewarding. And in this day of, comedies that are dressed up, that are actually dramas.
Yeah.
Girls. Beautiful, amazing, heartfelt, but I couldn't call that a comedy. I call that something all of its own. There isn't really a category that falls into, but I think that people have much more of an appetite because of shows like Girls, that and Orange is the New Black. Doesn't have to fit into.
Yeah.
You're allowed to. You're allowed to oscillate, and it's just like hire an actor who's interested in doing that, or has the ability to do that, or a bunch of actors who like to do that, and see what happens.
Have you? I mean, the series kicked off with Maya and Jimmy trying to find this school for JJ that would just accept him and let him be who he is, and then it was sort of like, now that they found it, are we going to see who Maya is outside of her relationship with her son? But there's really, that can't always be the case. But talk about who you view her outside of that relationship. And is there any going outside of it?
Well, there's going to have to be. If we, going forward, there will have to be an outside. We haven't really explored who Maya's family is. We've seen some of Jimmy's family, who I think there's a lot to be mined out of that. What she was on a path to do before she found herself pregnant and then gave birth to a child who had a severe disability. What do we return to some of that? Do we try and find that as JJ is becoming more independent? Does Maya get her previous life on? I don't know. I mean, I'm imagining, yes, these are all conversations that we've had and continue to have.
And were they conversations you had with the parents? How do you...
You know what? Here's the reality and where it splits. The reality is money. You have a parent who works, and you have a parent who is the caregiver. And if you're lucky and you qualify to have an aide at some point, but there's no one I spoke to that isn't paying out of pocket, that there isn't the funding to have a carer who is as present as Kenneth is in our life. There is a little sort of stretching of the truth around that, because I don't know that Maya's ever going to be able to go out and get a job. But maybe. It'll be interesting. It's always interesting to see how does somebody within the discipline of what we've set up of this family, how do you create a life outside of it? She has a lot of guilt when she does anything that's outside of it. That's also funny. So it'll be fun. It'll be fun figuring out how you do it. Yeah.
Well, let's take some questions from our viewers. Mike on Twitter asks, which character that you've portrayed are you most like?
Oh yeah, the crackhead Southern Gypsy I played in The Riches, obviously. Obviously, close to my heart. No, while I did love that, I loved that character probably more than any other that I've played. Till Maya. I mean, I like to think that I was very like Skylar in Good Will Hunting, but the fact that she's studying applied mathematics is utterly ridiculous and a remote possibility for me. But I was very young when I did that. I was very in love when I did that. Like it was all, I would say that's probably the closest to me, yeah.
Okay. Eddie on Facebook would like to know, as would I, if you're joining the reboots of Will and Grace.
You know what? I better be. I better be.
Okay, talk to NBC right here.
Max, you better figure out like some sort of deal with ABC to let me be in Will and Grace, because I will die if I'm not in the Will and Grace reboot. I will die. You heard it here. My head will explode in front of Universal Studios, which is an NBC
property. Yeah.
Yeah. So
what do you want to see? What do you want to do?
There's nothing I wouldn't do. I'll do anything. I'll do everything. There's nowhere Lorraine Finster couldn't have gone. She could be marrying Prince Harry, and let's say that she's marrying Prince Harry. There's nothing. I just want to be in it, even if it's for 5 minutes. That was honestly one of the happiest times of my life. I've never laughed so much shooting a show in my life. Jimmy Burrows, Deborah Messing, Megan Mullally, Sean, all of them geniuses across the board.
Who made you crack the most?
Oh,
made you break?
Well, when I'm playing a scene with Megan Mullally and they've written that, you know, I'm dropping a tiara out of my hoo-ha and it makes a terrible noise. They couldn't use the laugh track of the audience when we did that because it was so funny that she was hiding the tiara, and that was on network television, prime time. Oh, it wasn't hidden anywhere else. It was.
I don't know what the setup was for that.
I was basically, Megan Mullally goes, oh look, it's the trash taking itself out as I'm leaving. And then she goes, give me my jewelry back. And so I give her the ring and the bracelet and the necklace. And then she goes, and the other thing. And then I just like step my legs apart and.
No, I meant like who had to put it there for you. I don't want to know.
You don't have to know about that. Well, that's the thing. You don't have to think about any of that.
You don't have to think about it.
You just have to see. Oh, I really do hope they let me in there.
We have video proof.
You really do. Believe me, I'm 4 seconds away from writing an email. In fact, I'm going to the minute I leave.
Okay. I mean, they're in production, so start it.
I know.
All right. Daniel on Twitter asks, what advice do you have for more inclusion and accurate inclusion for those with disabilities in media?
What advice? Well, you know, being part of the conversation, like it is changing. I would say that, and I honestly place that squarely at the feet of what Speechless is doing, of being part of this conversation.
And having a network like ABC that is, you know.
It has been extremely unfair that actors with disability have been portrayed by actors who are able-bodied. That is not fair. I do believe that is changing. I don't think people can get away with that anymore. I really don't. I think those days are done. So I think however it is, whatever breakdowns people get, which I'm sure if this is an actor who's talking, you're getting breakdowns of parts. You know, hopefully you can get yourself seen for those roles, because you have to. It's turning a big ship around, this notion of inclusivity. But I think there's never been a better time, and I think the conversation is changing.
How about back at TCA? Susan Sarandon and Jessica Lange were promoting Feud, and they were talking about ageism and sexism in Hollywood. And Susan, I believe, said something like, it was a big no-no when she was around, 30, going into her 40s. It was a big no-no to say you had children and to play a mother role. Like it was like you were being written off as being sexy. Like producers couldn't view you another way, basically. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Did you get advice? Because she said she got advice about not playing that type of role so soon in her career, but like, did you?
I mean, I was really young to have teenage kids on The Riches. And I do remember some other people saying, aren't you worried about that? If I stop and if I'm worried about someone else's prejudice and I live by their rules, they win. The best way to do it is, I think, always to explode it, is to just go, no, I'm not stopping for I'm not stopping for that attitude. And while there may be 5 producers who will go, she's too old to be seen as sexy and juicy and whatever, because I know she's over whatever their cutoff is. There will be 2 or 3 producers who aren't like that. And those are the people I want to work with. You know, if I'm not getting that job because of that, I don't want to work with those people anyway. And you know what? It's the, you know, go and read some Steinbeck until women start going, it doesn't matter. And if you know what, we don't want those jobs, let someone else have them. Pretty soon those people that take those jobs and that keep subscribing to that, they're in the minority. So women, I think, just need to feel more empowered by, and women like Jessica Lange and Susan Sarandon make me feel empowered, and Helen Mirren and Judi Dench and all of these beautiful actresses who just carry on, and you just carry on. You don't stop. You don't stop for prejudice. You don't, and it's antiquated and it's boring and it's dumb, and I don't know, I just feel like it's like, you know, I feel the same way that a lot of people feel about, you know, some current white men in power. It's just like dinosaurs just carrying on chewing the cud as the meteor streaks across the sky and is about to explode the whole thing. It's like, sure, hang on to all of that. But it is changing and it is going, and it's our job just to live well and be happy and support the jobs that don't treat you like that, and don't stop for that stuff. I don't. I never have and I never will.
Maya wouldn't.
Maya wouldn't. And I think any woman who's just like, well, I don't know, I don't want to work with them. I don't want that.
What do you think Maya watches on TV? And what do you think Maya would think about a show like Speechless? Would she be excited about it or ambivalent, or?
I'll tell you what she watches. She watches Fox News and she turns the sound down and she does all the voices herself. Oh, Kellyanne Conway, Sean Hannity. You know what I mean? I imagine she does that. I don't think she takes anything quite seriously. She probably loves a really good sort of Dateline murder.
Okay.
Or like a really awful Nightline.
Okay.
You know, just some terrible section of society. I think she probably gets a real kick out of stuff that I absolutely could not watch.
Okay.
She probably loves horror films, watch it right before bed and sleep like a baby. She'd watch like a Saw movie when she's got a couple of hours while JJ's getting therapy. Oh yeah, that's disgusting. And then go and have a nap. Feel fantastic about everything.
I feel like we're the same person, Maya and I. But what do you think she'd think about a show like Speechless?
I think she'd scoff at it and be really rude about what she'd heard and how much they were going to get it wrong. And she'd be really vocal about it on social media. And then she'd watch it and she wouldn't even apologize for anything she said before. She'd go, best show ever. Hashtag watch it or I'll punch you. You know what I mean?
Good hashtags.
Quite good.
We should have used that for this. Watch it or I'll punch it.
Not too late.
Not too late. We
Not
can't
too
still
late.
use
You
it.
can still get
How
it.
about working with these kids, and how has it informed you? I mean, they're just amazing. But is it hard to like working with kids?
No, I mean they're so good. They're so good. Honestly, all 3 of them. Because even though Micah's 19, he's a kid to me. I'm constantly worried about them. I'm constantly worried that they're not reading enough and that they're in this incredibly grown-up environment, even though they have great families around them and big support systems. I worry about them. I want them to be exposed to more than just Hollywood, and I love them. They're really good people. But the only thing that's a bugger about working with kids is that they can only work for 8 hours, which means that you lose them. They turn into pumpkins. And that can be, but it's also really good because sometimes you get out of work early, although actually
that rarely happens.
No, you have to stay late and do all your stuff after they've gone. But that's the only downside. They're really nice people. They're not bratty sort of child actors. They're really considered sweet people.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to end this conversation with a lightning round of questions.
Oh, does that mean I get struck by lightning if I can't answer quick enough?
I mean, we don't have the budget for that. I don't even think we could dim the lights to make it sound serious.
Tase me.
Pretend. All right. Last show you binge watched?
Big Little Lies.
What show that you love would you want to sit and watch someone else enjoy for the first time?
Oh, the Great British Bake Off.
Good choice.
I know.
If you could go back and be on any classic show, what would it be?
Cheers.
Oh, God. What genre would you like to try?
Action movie.
Okay.
I did one once. It was really bad, but I'd like to try it again.
Walter White or Tony Soprano?
Oh my God! Come on!
Ooh,
What?
thank you.
What? Oh my God! It's a sign. Obviously, James Gandolfini, because the lights went out. They flickered.
He was like, "You better answer that right."
Sorry, Brian. Of course, Tony Soprano.
First acting job, and what did you learn from it that you still use now?
Oh my God! I was in a show called The House of Elliot, which was this TV show on in England, and I did so much research. I had one line, and I did all this research into the period of the 20s. You don't have to do that when you have one line.
What was the line?
It's fine. I think the print will be ready this afternoon, sir.
At least it worked, all that research. You still remember it.
Idiot.
Thanks for not cursing. We appreciate
I've tried so. You know what I wanted to say. But I mean, honestly, you don't have to go. I'm all for like method acting if that's what floats your boat. But seriously, if you've got one line, love, just say it and don't look into the camera.
That lesson was free, guys. You don't have to pay for us.
You know what? I might do some sort of online acting course at some time in the future. Feel free to put that in your notebook as a maybe for 2019.
Well, Minnie, thanks so much for joining us today. And to all you, thanks for watching. Check out ellitimes.com for more of our Emmy Contender Chats. Thanks.